Hi, and welcome to On Point, a podcast by Oak Street Funding, where we bring research and data backed insights to dig into the minds of industry leaders to learn how to stand out, navigate, and break through this ever changing industry. I am your host, Bridget Height, and you can support this podcast by following us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, our website, or wherever you get your podcasts. We'll be there hanging out, talking to industry leaders, and ready to empower you to grow your business. Now, let's get on point. So today I am delighted to have Brett Rosen, the owner of Rosen Advisory, join me on the show today. Brett is an experienced mergers and acquisitions consultant, and he will be sharing 5 things that you can do to maximize the value of your business. Welcome to the show, Brett.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate this opportunity to speak with you.
This is going to be great. So I'm just going to start off really easy. Can you tell us a little bit about what led you to start Rosen Advisory?
Sure, absolutely. Prior to starting my own firm, I was with a company called One Digital. And with One Digital, I was in a mergers and acquisitions role buying insurance agencies on behalf of One
Okay.
Digital. And I did about 50 to 55 deals with the company. And I was there for 17 years, had an amazing run. We were one of the most
Wow.
prolific acquirers in the industry. And I felt like after 17 years, it was time to take a step back and get out of corporate America and do what I want to do. And I did that. And I thought I could really add the most value to to the business by kind of switching sides of the table and taking everything I learned and advising independent businesses on how to sell their firm or perpetuate their firm most effectively.
Okay. So what is your favorite part of the job?
My favorite part of the job is that I get to help people at such a critical juncture in their life. It's a huge
Mhm.
responsibility. It can be stressful, but I love it, and I know how important it is to these people to get this issue right, and it
Yeah.
motivates me, and it makes me feel really good about what I'm doing. And candidly, I just love it. I love being alongside these owners through such an important transition period.
That's great. It sounds like there's a little bit of adrenaline involved in mergers and acquisitions too sometimes.
A little bit. It's, these the folks that I represent have built a business usually
Yeah.
over a career, or easily a decade plus. A lot of times 2, 3, 4 decades, and
Wow.
they want to get it right. And I feel, I've done so many deals, and I do have to, sometimes there's a psychology aspect to it for folks.
Sure.
It's getting the finances right, but it's also getting the psychology of it right and making sure they
Yep.
find the right home, and the right, make the right decision holistically.
That
So
makes sense. Yeah,
there's a
that
lot
makes
more
total
to it.
sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we're here today to talk about M&A in your business planning. So why is that so important?
Yeah. So it's crucial to have a deep understanding of the topic of M&A. A lot of business owners actively stay away from the topic of mergers and acquisitions until it's time to sell. And maybe they've come across an opportunity in their career to buy a business and didn't understand the topic well, so they didn't make the purchase. Maybe they've had an opportunity to sell or merge with someone who could have been a great partner, but they didn't have the education and or an advisor alongside them throughout their journey, so that they could make a great decision to either to buy or to sell. So I think it's really important that people are students of the M&A business to some extent and have some level of expertise as a business owner, so that they don't miss opportunities throughout their business journey.
Right, that makes total sense. So what is the first thing that business owners should do when it comes to mergers and acquisitions planning, and why?
Yes, the first thing an owner should do is to understand exactly what buyers, the acquirers, look for in a purchase. Because if
Okay.
someday you're going to perpetuate your business, you can get the answer key from the people who are doing the buying. And there's people like my role at One Digital, as I mentioned, was to buy insurance agencies on behalf
Hmm.
of One Digital. And so obviously I knew all the criteria and exactly what we were looking for. and that usually is pretty common across an industry. That other buyers were looking for similar things to what
Right.
my company was looking for, and so the M&A professionals who are in my role have an answer key, and it might not be the perfect answer key for you as a business owner, as a business builder. The,
Hmm.
the the answer key that I had might not be perfect, but there were three, four, five, 10 other people who did what I do, who throughout your career you could learn from, and use that, use those conversations and that learning to continue to fine tune your roadmap and your business plan, and
Yeah.
ensure that you build the most valuable business that you can.
Okay. So that was the first step. What's the second step? What's the second
Yeah,
most important step?
great question. I would say that you should take your learnings and have a business plan, a written business plan. I meet a lot of folks who are building great businesses, and I meet people at all stages of their journey. And I would say the ones that have a plan are building the most valuable businesses. The ones that are winging it a little bit more and just letting the business kind of control them versus them intentionally controlling the business tend to not maybe grow as fast, maybe don't have the same level of profitability, and just aren't quite as effective as the folks that are really intentional about what they're doing every day. And having a written plan is so crucial, and having key performance indicators and things that you measure. On the other side, I'd say don't have too complicated a plan that you can't look at and refer to every day, or your team can't refer to every day to stay aligned. If it's more than one page that someone has to look at every day, it's probably not useful. You might have that backup material for later down the line, or for more in-depth management discussions or team discussions. But having that those key indicators is crucial, and can align with building the most valuable business that you possibly can.
All right. So having goals is certainly important, and those four specific areas make total sense. What is the next area of business, the area that business owners should be thinking about when it comes to mergers and acquisitions?
Sure. Um, my next must do would be to really never fear conversations about whether you should buy or sell a business.
Okay.
Yeah, I think a lot of times owners are they're independent, they're strong. Not that they don't want to learn, but
Hmm.
when you're going to be learning from potential competitors, it can get a little bit tricky and difficult, and you need to navigate that gracefully. But there's a tremendous amount you can learn from these conversations with potential merger partners throughout your business development that can be super helpful. And a lot of times, when I ask somebody if they've ever talked to anyone about the M&A topic, they say no. I don't want people to know that I would even consider selling my business, because it could come back to bite me in terms of it gets out to my clients or something along those. I would
Sure.
say that, yeah, that's an understandable fear for sure. But what I would say is that people in the M&A space are very respectful. Even folks who are just considering buying or selling a business, you can count on confidentiality. I've never in my career seen anyone breach trust or use it for kind of like nefarious competitive purposes. I think people who come to
That's
the
good.
table in these conversations are sincere about them. Now, you can put a non-disclosure in place to further
Hmm.
protect. I've never seen a non-disclosure go to court or anything like that. So it's just a
That's good.
formality. Yeah, it's just a
Okay.
formality to have that document.
Okay. So, being open-minded is certainly, it sounds like a great strategy for owners to grow via M&A. But we've
Yeah.
covered three of the five key points. Let's just dive into number four.
The final, well, I had 5 points today, so I think I can jump into the final 2 points together. They both have to do with owners who might be a little closer to selling or perpetuating their business. So let's say they want to, you have a business owner that's got, they're within 3 years of selling their business. So it's really getting kind of down to crunch time of, I really need to understand this M&A topic and kind of know where I'm headed. And what I'd say is, when you get to this stage in your business life cycle, it's time to ensure that you have a great team around you for the transaction. You should have an M&A advisor. And there's just so much that you can learn from someone who's doing deals all the time. And as a professional, I obviously believe in the return on investment in the services that we provide, and candidly that my competitors provide. I don't think anybody should go it alone. It's just it's expensive, but it's very easy to get a return on that investment of 200, 300, 400% of what you're paying for the services, if candidly, if not a lot more. Um, I'd also recommend that you have a great M&A lawyer or law firm that you have at your disposal to get questions answered. If you're thinking about selling even in the next 3 years, and candidly, everybody should probably talk to a legal expert or an M&A advisor or someone to make sure that they're building the supporting documentation for their business all along the way. Because when it comes time to actually get a deal done, you don't want to be racing to put materials together that you should have been doing over the course of years, or you might not have set your corporation up the right way, and it could cause tax problems or things of that nature. So you want this team to look at your business and ensure that there's going to be no red flags or issues that end up surprising you when it's time to do a deal. And then the final point would be to create a framework for a deal that you would take on either side. If you're a buyer, create a framework and criteria for a deal. Like what would it require in the deal for you to make the purchase? Obviously, the price has to be right. What should the return on investment be? What type of culture and people would we want to work with? And you should have that really thoughtfully laid out so that you have a plan if you're going to buy a business. And then the same thing if you're going to sell your business. You should have clear criteria so that when you get into the flow of a deal, it's easy to let momentum take over as a seller, and you've got maybe a big offer in front of you, and that's the number side of it, and it's the financial piece. But what else is important? So I kind of have for my insurance agency clients, I've got kind of a three-pronged approach that I think has worked very well in that industry, which is it good for me financially and good for my family in terms of what we're doing next? Is it good for my team? And is it good for my customers?
Sounds like you just make everything so much easier in a time that could be fraught with difficulties and stress.
I
So
hope
these are,
so. I hope
yeah,
so.
I mean, these are great points. Do you have any final tips?
You know, um, I would just say, back to being open-minded,
Yeah.
having a plan. I think just repeating some of these common points of have an expert by your side, and it's a little bit self-serving to say, but it is what I do. And again, if it's me or any who just it's become an expert if you say a scale of 1 to 10, you should be a 3 as a business owner or M&A expert, and I should be a 10, right? And
Right.
it'll help you manage me or one of my competitors in your business journey and in a transaction someday.
Excellent. Well, I have one last question for you. Can you
Sure.
tell me your favorite travel memory and what made it so special?
Okay. Wow. Favorite travel memory.
This is just for
My
fun, Brett.
Yeah, and it was fun. So I went to Costa Rica with my family last year,
Oh,
and
nice.
it was amazing. If you've never been to Costa Rica and you can get there, I highly recommend it. And what made it, I think, it was just great family time and an absolutely gorgeous place. The people were tremendous. But one very specific thing is we went on a waterfall hike, and it was a very long
Wow.
hike uphill. And then on the downhill, we rappelled down waterfalls, and
Oh my
it was
gosh.
like the family team building event. It was
It sounds,
it was
how old are your kids?
My kids are 24, 21, and 19. So
Okay.
old enough to comfortably do that and make fun of me
Yeah,
for being the slowest one and all that good stuff. And I had to fake that I wasn't terrified so that they wouldn't make fun of me the rest of the trip, but it all worked out.
that sounds amazing. Brett,
Thanks,
thank you
Brad.
so much for being here and sharing all of your wisdom. We really appreciate it.
I appreciate you having me. This has been great. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all for listening to On Point, a podcast by Oak Street Funding, where we bring research and data-backed insights to dig into the minds of industry leaders to learn how to stand out, navigate, and break through this ever-changing industry. I am Bridget Height, and tune in next time wherever you listen to podcasts. See you then as we get on point. And don't forget to subscribe and leave us a review. Thanks for listening. To get in contact with someone at Oak Street Funding, please call 844-353-8022. That's 844-353-8022 to learn more.